Today, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce to you our China Ultra High Rise, its development, its overview. Especially, I will mainly talk about mainland China. You know, China now is the fastest developing country in the world, or the fast developing economy in the world. Urbanization process is really quick, and ultra-high buildings, they are mushrooming all over China. And it has already exceeded the total ownership of such high-rises in developed countries. You can see some are already built, some are being built. Up to last year, the total number of high-rise in China which have been built or which is being built is around 600, and mainly concentrated in Yangtze River, Pearl River, and the central, southwestern, and the Bohai Rim regions. In the future plan, the increment is going to be 200, and above 300 meters buildings accounts for 17% growth. And it is 17% increment on the basis of the current total number. And of course, economic development is going to influence the process. And now, ultra-high buildings have already become a very important symbol for the social and economic development. So the research of the sector is also going to be really significant to help us to develop the sector more rationally in the future. I think for the ultra-high rises in China, we have its causes, the origins, and the background. And the mainland high rise or ultra-high rise actually originated from the design code for fire prevention and protection for civilian high-rises. And at that time, it was defined in the code that the high-rises is above 100 meters. CTBUH definition is usually above 200 and 300 meters or 300 meters. And it is defined as mega high-rises. And in China, in the 1980s, according to the design code at that time, it was above 100 meters. And actually, starting from ancient China, we already have such high-rises. This is from 1,000 years ago. It was a high and wood structure, and it was tallest at that time in China. And actually, it was less than 100 meters, that was 67 meters, and it was tested by earthquakes. At that time, people wanted to stand high, to stand very high and very tall, to look at the overview, the view of everything beneath the mountain, and it was a Buddhist structure or building. And at the same time, it was also a watch-out tower for military purposes. And inside, it contained some Buddhist relics. This was 1,000 years ago. And in contemporary China, you know, urbanization first developed in concessions in Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Tianjin because of the prosperity of the concessionary trade in 1920s and 1930s. Ultra-high rises make the first explorations in China in these places. And this was the start of the contemporary high-rise in China. You can see Huangpu River here in this picture in the beginning of the 20th century. And concerning the ultra high rises, I'm going to talk about the clue of the development and the driver of the development in the next section. And concerning the development of high rises, let's talk from the time perspective in a chronological order. Generally, it is divided into 4 stages, and currently, we are at the prosperity stage. And it began from the concessions in several cities, and it was called the preparatory stage, which started from 1900 to 1949. At the time, the buildings in Shanghai basically were all below 100 meters. And the second stage was budding stage, that is from 1950 to 1979. And the development stage was from 1980 to 1999. And prosperity stage started from 2000 until now. So we had these 4 stages. And you can look at the number, the height, and its economic influence in these 4 stages, respectively. The standard for delineating or defining these stages are multidimensional. First is the height of the buildings, and the second is the per capita GDP of the city, and also the built number, total number of the built buildings, and the regional areas. And the last factor or criterion is policy environment. During the development stage and prosperity stage, you can look at the regions. They are mainly distributed in the 4 main economic regions and the major Tier 1 cities. And you can compare the total number of such buildings in these areas. Something's wrong with the slides. So this is in different regions, in different Tier 1 cities. The comparison of the number, the height of the buildings. The driver of the development actually are multifold. First is the urbanization level, also including the population and CBD, and the government policies are also influencing the development of high rises. And also equipment, technology are also influencing factors, including machinery, construction equipment, and natural or disaster prevention factors. These are also influencing factors. So during different stages, you see, in development stage and prosperity stage, these are very prominent influencing factors for high rises. The policy and the management by the government are also constantly improving during the development stage and prosperity stage. They provide really good guarantee for the orderly development of high rises in these cities. You can see the government laws, regulations, administrative regulations, departmental rules. They're also influencing the development of high rises in these stages. And this is related with planning, design, equipment, construction, and we have a lot of such documents and policies to act as guidance. Now I'm going to talk about the process of the development of ultra high rises. Just now we mentioned 4 stages, including preparatory stage, budding stage, development stage, and prosperity stage. And you can see in the first 70 to 80 years, it was like a preparatory stage and beginning stage. And the real development was closely related with the opening and reform, especially the last prosperity stage. Actually started from the entry of WTO, and it gained speed after that. You know, for preparatory stage in 1920s and 30s in Shanghai, in Tianjin, during that period of time, there were some representative buildings. At that time, Shanghai was the biggest industrial and commercial city in Far East. At that time, International Hotel, which was 84 meters, this was already the tallest in Far East. And Tianjin's Aiqing and Guangzhou's Aiqing Mansion also reached 66 meters. These were all very famous representative high-rises at that time. And at that time, the structure is mainly steel structure. In elevator, starting from 1906, passenger elevator was first used in China, in Shanghai's Huizhong Hotel in 1906. So that was China's first elevator. And the beginning stage or budding stage mainly started from the founding of PRC. And during the 30 years afterwards, in Guangzhou, in the Guangzhou Export Commodity Fair, influenced by this, we built some public buildings, also some public buildings by the central government. So it was driven by the demand. You can see Guangzhou Hotel, Guangzhou Baiyun Hotel. At that time, was almost 100 meters, and Beijing Hotel, which was built in 1974, also was over 80 meters high, and Baiyun Hotel already exceeded 100 meters. And at that time, the main structure was shear wall, and in elevator equipment, we already had high-speed elevators. In development stage, it mainly started from the opening and reform in China, especially in some special economic zones. Shenzhen, Zhuhai, Guangzhou, Pearl River Delta. That was for the first 10 years, and the latter 10 years was represented by Shanghai, Yangtze River Delta area. And so you can see economic development also had a great influence on the development of high-rises or ultra-high-rises. And so in 1980 to 1989, in Guangzhou, Shenzhen, GDP developed from 6 billion to 30 billion. And in Shanghai, you can see starting from 1990, the GDP started from 70 billion to 700 billion. And so that's why we can see a concentration of high-rises in these areas in this period of time. In the first 10 years, Shenzhen's International Trade Center was 160 meters, and Shenzhen's Development Center Mansion was 165 meters, and Beijing Jincheng Mansion was 183 meters. This was for the first 10 years, and in the latter 10 years, in 1990s, Guangzhou Zhongxing, 390 meters, and Shenzhen's Emperor Building, 384 meters, and the Jingmao Tower, 421 meters. So you can see high-rise accelerated in these areas, in this stage. And during the development stage, you can see the development intensity was not so strong, and it was mainly distributed in Tier 1 cities. And the height is still below, mainly below 200 meters, and the mode of the high-rises are mainly single function. And the government started to stipulate, for example, like the distances between the buildings and the capacity of the properties, and the government also supported with different laws and regulations and rules. So, in terms of the structure, first it was rebar concrete, but in the later stage, it started to use mixed structure of steel and concrete, and in the end stage, mainly it is using the different kinds of combo structure. And development stage, in fire prevention technology, the government has designed code in 1995. And in terms of M&E, a lot of AC system, the cold source, heat source, BA system are widely used. And in elevator technology, there were a lot of technology, including variable frequency, double deck, 3-guide, sightseeing elevators. They all started to be used during this stage. And the first stage is prosperity stage, that is starting from 2000 to now. After we joined WTO,
China started its development of economy. The size of its economy has exceeded 10 trillion. And in Tier 1, Tier 2 cities, we see the rising of a lot of ultra-tall buildings. And this is considered as the flourishing stage after 20 years of preparation for ultra-high buildings. In this flourishing period, the constructed and under construction ultra-tall buildings in Tier 1 cities are shown in this chart. And in Tier 2 cities, these are the distribution of the ultra-tall buildings. And we see a lot of Tier 1 city, Tier 1.5 city, and to Tier 2, Tier 3 cities. And 300-meter plus buildings are becoming more and more, and the weight of these 300 plus meters buildings are becoming heavier. And in Nanjing, Wenzhou, Wuhan, you see a lot of ultra-tall buildings. In this flourishing stage, the construction concept is the regional cluster model. In specific regions, so we have a master plan, and there will be an ultra-tall building cluster in a very concentrated area. This is the area in Tianjin Yujiapu, and the total area is 9.5 million meters, and this is the financial center with a lot of hotels and office buildings. And in the downtown of Beijing, there's a Huamao Center. The total area is 700,000 square meters with retail facilities and hotels and office buildings. So this has upgraded. This has shown the upgradation from the previously single-purpose buildings to multi-purpose buildings. And the other concept is the combination of multiple functions into the same building. Currently, in Shanghai, the World Finance Center is already built, and the total height is 200 plus meters, so with business facilities, hotels, and conference facilities, and with the connection of transportation. In terms of construction technologies, there are many forms of structures adopted, such as core walls, steel plate shear wall, and core in middle of a core, and the core tube, mega column, and outrigger, etc. And also it has included some design for seismic resistance and disaster relief. And the digital wind tunnel simulation technology was also adopted. And also the computer software can simulate the construction process. In terms of the construction technologies itself, we see this is the first time we see the automatic wind damper devices on top of this building. So in this formation stage, in many dimensions, we have achieved a lot of advancement, and this will have impact in the following stage. In Shanghai Tower, all these new skills were adopted without the previous experience accumulation. It is impossible to do that in Shanghai Tower. And now I would like to talk about the ultra-tall building trend in the coming years. In the following years, I think the market capacity for ultra-tall buildings are quite big, particularly in Tier 1 cities. These are to be built ultra-tall buildings. And in Tier 1.5 cities, these are to be built ultra-tall buildings. And this regional cluster model will further mature. The business value and the scale operation will be adopted in ultra-tall buildings in China to meet the market's requirements, and we will see more considerations in terms of infrastructure and the transportation connection. And the designers will pay more focus on the integration of the ultra-tall buildings and the surrounding areas. And the transportation will be a major consideration. And in a few buildings, we already see the reflection of the new concept called area city. That is due to the scarce of land resources in large cities, efficiency, green, energy saving. These concepts will need to be balanced. In the Nanjing Hexi Jingyin Tiandi, the total height is 350 meters, and on the subground level, there are transportation facilities. And in the ground areas, there's a lobby and a restaurant and some service functions provided to the occupants, and the total area will be 900,000 square meters. In terms of green concept, we have tightened the power consumption limit and tried to minimize the carbon footprint. This is not only a demand from the market, but also from the government mandatories. And regional microclimate will also be considered. We will see some BIPV technology and the maximum utilization of regional resources, such as non-traditional water source utilization technology. In many cases, we will see the centralized regional energy center to provide energy to the building. And in terms of structure technology, material technology, M&E technology will be further enhanced. We will see the emerging technology of Internet of Things spreading in these ultra-tall buildings. And the efficiency, the comfort, and disaster handling capacity for these buildings will further improve. These will be based on the previous years of preparation. And the China's ultra-tall building design and construction will be founded on our proprietary technologies. And the regional cluster model and the complex or multi-purpose model will continue. And for the asset lifetime evaluation, starting from the planning to the material planning and construction energy consumption planning and operation energy consumption planning and afterlife planning, M&E considerations will help us to reduce the total footprint of these ultra-high buildings. Thank you for listening.